Detroit, Louisiana. Here is 10-year-old Britney Spears.
What do you think it'll take to get the paparazzi to leave you alone? Is that one of your biggest wishes?
Yeah.
Every fairy tale begins with... Picture this. A 16-year-old girl walks into a recording studio in 1998, her hands trembling slightly as she adjusts the headphones. She has no idea that in just a few months, her voice will echo from every radio. Her face will be plastered across every magazine, and her name will become synonymous with an entire generation's soundtrack. But here's what nobody tells you about that moment. She also has no idea that she's about to sign away her soul. What happens when your wildest dreams come true, but the price is everything you never knew you'd lose? What happens when the world falls in love with a version of you that isn't even real? This is the story of Britney Spears, but it's not the story you think you know. Every fairy tale promises a happy ending, but what if I told you that sometimes the princess never escapes the tower? What if the tower isn't made of stone, but of contracts, cameras, and the crushing weight of other people's expectations? Britney Spears was supposed to be the ultimate success story. Instead, she became something far more tragic and far more important. She became a warning. Macomb, Mississippi, 1981. A baby is born carrying something that will both save her and destroy her. A voice. Not just any voice, but the kind that makes people stop what they're doing and listen. The kind that can fill a stadium or break your heart with a single note. The kind that will make her millions of dollars and cost her everything she holds dear. Her childhood reads like every cautionary tale ever written. Money problems at home, parents fighting behind closed doors, a little girl who learns that the only way to make the yelling stop is to sing louder. Church becomes her first stage, and even then, people notice something different about her. She doesn't just sing the hymns, she transforms them, pouring her young heart into every syllable until the congregation forgets they're in church. But here's where the story takes its first dark turn. Lynn Spears recognizes that her daughter has something special, something that could change their lives forever. She makes a decision that will haunt this family for decades. She decides to bet everything on an 8-year-old's talent. Picture this scene. A mother and daughter driving across state lines in a beat-up car, surviving on gas station snacks and desperate hope. 8-year-old Britney pressed against the window, watching the world blur by, not knowing that with every mile, she's moving further away from any chance of a normal childhood. The Mickey Mouse Club audition, the rejection. Too young, they said. But most children would have given up. Not Britney. That rejection didn't crush her dreams, it crystallized them. It taught her that no wasn't just a word, it was a challenge. By the time she made it onto the show, Britney had already learned the most dangerous lesson of her life. That her worth was measured by her ability to perform. That love came with conditions. While other kids her age were learning how to ride bikes and make friends, Britney was learning how to be whoever other people needed her to be. She was learning that her real feelings didn't matter as much as the feelings she could make other people have. She was learning to disappear. The show ended, but Britney couldn't let go. She kept auditioning, kept getting rejected, kept driving those long highways with her mother, chasing something that seemed just out of reach. Until finally, at 15, she walked into the audition that would change everything. Jive Records didn't just see talent when they looked at Britney Spears. They saw opportunity. They saw dollar signs. They saw a blank canvas they could paint however they wanted. The schoolgirl image wasn't Britney's idea. The plaid skirts, the innocent but not too innocent smile, none of that came from her. It came from a boardroom full of middle-aged men who had figured out exactly how to package a teenage girl's sexuality in a way that would make them rich. But here's the thing about masks. The longer you wear them, the harder it becomes to remember what your real face looks like underneath. Baby One More Time doesn't just hit the airwaves, it detonates across the cultural landscape like a nuclear bomb. Within weeks, Britney goes from unknown teenager to the most famous person on the planet. But success in the music industry isn't like success in other fields. When a teenage girl succeeds in pop music, she gets less control than she's ever had in her life. Success becomes a beautifully decorated prison. Britney's days become a blur of interviews where grown men ask her inappropriate questions about her body. Photo shoots where she's posed and prodded. Dance rehearsals that go 18 hours straight. And through it all, she smiles. Because that's what she's being paid to do. That's what the mask requires. Sometimes I drive me crazy. Oops, I did it again. Each hit pushes her higher up the mountain of fame and deeper into the valley of isolation. She becomes the most famous person in the world and the loneliest person in her own life, surrounded by handlers whose job it is to make sure she never stops performing, but nobody whose job it is to make sure she's okay. The relationship with Justin Timberlake seems like it might be different. For a brief moment, it looks like Britney might have found someone who sees the real her, but even that gets stolen. When they break up, Justin doesn't just move on, he turns their private pain into public profit. Cry Me a River doesn't just break up with Britney, it humiliates her, painting her as the betrayer while the media runs with it. Suddenly, America's sweetheart becomes America's villain. The same magazines that praised her innocence now condemn her for having human emotions. But Britney keeps working, keeps performing, keeps smiling, because stopping isn't an option. Toxic proves she's a genuine artist, earning her a Grammy and proving that beneath the packaging, there's real soul. But artistic success can't heal the wounds that fame has opened. The paparazzi follow her everywhere. They hide in bushes, chase her car, treat her like prey to be hunted rather than a human being. And somewhere in all this chaos, something inside Britney begins to crack. The marriage to Kevin Federline looks like an attempt to find normalcy. Britney becomes a mother, and for the first time in years, there's something in her life that isn't about performing. But even motherhood gets weaponized against her. Every parenting decision becomes a tabloid headline. Every human mistake becomes evidence that she's unfit. The year everything falls apart. The head-shaving incident wasn't a breakdown, it was a breakthrough. For one brief moment, Britney rejected the image built around her. For one brief moment, she chose herself. The world punished her immediately. But the real tragedy was what came next. 2008. The conservatorship. Sold to the public as protection, it was actually the final piece of the prison. Suddenly, Britney Spears couldn't make a single decision about her own life. She couldn't choose what to eat, who to see, whether to take medication. She couldn't decide to have another child or get married. The conservatorship turned her into a puppet. And the cruelest part? She had to keep performing through all of it. Keep smiling, keep dancing, keep pretending everything was fine while living in a cage painted to look like freedom. For 13 years, Britney existed in this impossible space. Free enough to make everyone around her rich, but not free enough to live her own life. Famous enough that millions knew her name, but not free enough to have meaningful relationships. But something was happening the conservators didn't expect. The fans were paying attention. Free Britney started as a whisper and grew into a roar. Fans began connecting dots that painted a horrifying picture. What if Britney hadn't been okay for years? What if everything they'd been told about her mental health was a lie designed to keep her working and keep other people profiting? Finally, after 13 years of silence, Britney speaks. Not through press releases or scripted interviews, but in her own words, in a courtroom, under oath. She describes being forced to take medication, being threatened for refusing to perform, being treated like property. And then she says the words that break the world's heart, "I just want my life back." The conservatorship ends in November 2021, but 13 years of stolen autonomy can't be undone with a judge's signature. Freedom after so much captivity is complicated and messy, and sometimes scary. Today, at 43, Britney Spears is free, but forever changed. Her legacy isn't just her music, though her songs will outlive us all. Her legacy is the questions she's forced us to ask about fame, about power, about who we allow to be in control when someone becomes too valuable to fail. Her story is a mirror, and what we see isn't always comfortable. We see our own complicity in a system that builds people up just to watch them fall down. We see our own hunger for the private pain of public figures. Britney survived, but survival isn't the same as victory. So what do we do with this story? Do we learn from it? Do we change how we treat the next young artist? Or do we wait for the next Britney Spears and watch the same cycle repeat itself? The choice is ours. Somewhere out there is another small-town kid with a big voice walking toward a door that might lead to fame or might lead to a prison dressed as paradise. What happens next depends on whether we've learned anything from watching Britney Spears pay the price for our entertainment.